She says this even after the whole debacle where she was like crying and having a meltdown because her kid saw a pop-up ad for her like never before seen footage of the Ray J sex tape.
I wonder if the kids will have the same reaction when they see Kanye in his GIMP mask on Alex Jones. Will the reaction be the same?
I bet North has already seen it.
Probably.
She has unrestricted internet access.
I imagine like North is just a groiper.
Yeah, she's a secret groiper. I bet.
North is just like at home, it's just pictures of Nick Fuentes.
She's totally the target demographic for that.
It says
anyway.
It says Kim Kardashian breaks her silence. And she just thinks that, what do you think? In today's society, what's worse? Political malfeasance and being a bit of a, what would you even call
being
what
a
he's
shock
doing?
jock.
Yeah, he's a political shock jock now, Kanye kind of is.
He's weird.
No,
he's a weirdo.
He's all good now. He watched 21 Jump Street.
That's true. I forgot about that.
He watched 21 Jump Street. Everything is fine.
That cured me of my anti-Semitism too.
Well, me being in Hollywood, I never was anti-Semitic, but I watched 21 Jump Street, and I love them even more.
So here's what she said. There's been a lot going on with Kanye right now. Things are going on in the media, radio shows, and interviews. Do you feel like naming exactly what you're talking about? Even through all the craziness of everything that Kanye says about us, I never comment, I never post. He has made up the most insane narrative about Chris and the sex tape. We stay silent through all the lies, all the stuff. I mean, we all know that the sex tape was orchestrated by Chris.
Her mom.
Her rise to fame. And she continued, I think at this point, I just assume everything I text Kanye is going to be put on the internet. I can handle anything. I just really get heartbroken for my mom that she has to deal with so much. And all of his shenanigans. I don't even know what the F to call it. It's going to be far more damaging to the kids one day than my tape will ever be. And I have to sit here and not say anything ever because I know one day my kids will appreciate that.
I once saw somebody, a very inspiring person on Instagram once said, if you let a man shenan once, he will definitely shenan again. And that's not good. She should have never let him shenan the first time.
We've got one from 1,000-Foot Derp End. He said, I often see guys who look like they've never baled hay or cut timber saying beer is bad. Oh, really, Mr. Moves? Maybe those of us without definition in our muscles aren't the ones to suggest what is best for the body, wink face. Any response to that?
Yeah, I've lost 25 pounds in the last 2 months.
Okay.
I have a personal trainer. I've been doing 1,200, like when I'm cutting, 1,200, 1,500 calorie days. I went through a depressive phase where I definitely lost definition. Used to work out all the time, but yeah, no, I've been definitely this year been a lot healthier.
This is what peak performance looks like.
You
may not like it.
You may not like it.
But this is what peak performance looks like.
I saw one the other day. It was a screenshot of Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. It says, "This is peak woman performance. Whether you might not like it, but no, you're wrong. You're wrong." So, look, in today's society, we've become simultaneously, as you've said, I think you mentioned it yesterday, Hollywood is sexless. But we're also in a weirdly, almost overtly pornographic era in the culture with Hollywood, whether we're talking about Euphoria, whether we're talking about The Idol, things like that.
Or an actual sex tape.
Or actual sex tapes, or just the prevalence of porn. Which one will be worse for the kids? Certainly OnlyFans girls are now, the SoundCloud rappers of the new millennium. There's only that top 1% or 0.1% that's making a ton of money. But certainly plenty of women are trying their hand at it. Which one is going to do their kids more damage? Kanye's behavior.
North is 9 years old, and she's dressing up like Ice Spice, dancing to her songs where she's talking about
Second crisis party. Thank you guys.
blowing her back and shit like that.
Thank you.
If anything is inappropriate for her age, it's that. And she's allowed to hang out with this adult at 9 years old.
I mean, that's just
that's really odd.
That to me is just whoring your kids out for relevance with some mostly for the rapper is the one getting the shine from North.
Why are you a 23-year-old on a play date with a 9-year-old?
It's the industry, right?
And this reminds me of one of those clips from that I was on whatever, where this girl says well, your kids will get bullied for anything. They might get bullied because you're on this podcast. Why is it so bad to be on OnlyFans if you have kids one day? And I was like, well, obviously there are objective degradations to what is embarrassing for kids. And I think if your parent has been on a podcast talking about dating culture, and like that might be a little less embarrassing than your mom having a sex tape or having an OnlyFans or being a porn star.
My favorite is the videos. It's like the Instagram videos. It's like going to school for like take your child like when your parents come to your school and talk about their job.
Yeah,
and it's just the image of the kids just crying. Like, what do you? I want your opinion. What's worse for the kids long term? Is it going to be Kanye's behavior or Kim's behavior?
Probably just a mix of both.
It's almost like you can't really separate them at this point, right? Like they're always going to be their kids, and like it's going to come back as like they're both celebrity nut jobs who have crazy stuff in their past.
I mean, like look at how many kids who grow up with celebrity parents get like messed up.
Yep.
You know, it's not uncommon.
Oh, and not just celebrity parents, but also like kids who grow up in the industry, even if their parents aren't celebrities, because they're taken advantage of.
Taken advantage of, or it's just like they're always in the spotlight. It changes perception on things. You know, there's a lot of different things, and also, you know, artists or tend to also be a little crazy, so they inherit that.
Yeah.
Kim Kardashian's not an artist though. She's just a ruthless businesswoman.
I mean, I've seen the way that woman looks in a dress. She's an artist of some sort.
Also, I just think that like when you're in that world, there's also easier access to like drugs, and it's easier to sort of really mess your life up.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not a matter of if, but when the kids are going to have the wool, removed from their eyes, and they'll see like all of this stuff. So I don't think that they're going to appreciate the behavior of either of their parents.
I was watching an old episode. It was a show called The Glades. It was from A&E from like a decade ago, and Eddie Furlong showed up in it, just looking wide. He's from Terminator 2.
Looking wide.
He's John Connor in Terminator 2, and he's turned his life around since then, from what I understand. Like he went through a very bad phase, messed his life up, and then had to turn his life around. But it's not easy.
Well, and you can also think of like when you're in that industry, the stress of it's not like you have a normal job or anything. It's always like, what's the next gig?
Yeah.
And it's like you're only as good as your last movie. And so if you have like a bad movie,
a string of bad movies can kill a career.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And yeah, exactly. And
who do you think is the best? What child actor transitioned into adulthood the best? Do you think that's kind of putting you on the spot, because you kind of like time to think about that?
This reminds me of like Kieran Culkin talking about the effect that like being a child star had on his brother. Yeah. Like he actually feels bad for him because he didn't have to deal with nearly the same amount of. And
Macaulay
scrutiny.
Culkin was kind of like in the same breath of Will Smith, of cultural icon at that time.
Yeah.
Of the impact he made on the culture, right?
Yeah. He went through a bad phase too. I mean, I would say probably Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
Because he was in the one Little House on the Prairie show as a child actor. Ron Howard also, had a good job of transitioning to like directing and making a good career for himself afterwards. I mean, there's been some good ones, but I think for every good one that was able to transition
there's so many that
like didn't. Yeah, they kind of fell off. And I mean, sometimes too, it's just because they did acting as a kid and they don't want to.
A lot of them go behind the camera. Like, we'll end up working either like
or going into totally different industries. Like the kid who was in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the 1971.
What about Dakota the Fannings? The Elle Fanning and Dakota Fanning, like
they did pretty well.
Fairly normal, right?
Yeah.
The girl from Pretty Little Liars, she ended up being fairly normal. She was a child actor. I don't remember her. Not Ashley Benson. Sasha Patrice. She started off as a child actor. She turned out vaguely on the cusp of normal for the most part. But a lot of them. And then Scarlett Johansson was a child actor. And so was Natalie Portman at 12.
Natalie Portman, yeah.
Yeah.
But she like kind of, I don't know if she denounced Leon the Professional, but like
she did, yeah.
She essentially kind of did, and like says that she thinks that it's like been misinterpreted over the years.
I think some of them end up going into voice. I know the girl we were talking about the other day. I was laughing about how they recast the girl who played President Whitmore's daughter in Independence Day, because they just didn't want to use, even though the little girl who was in that movie was still acting, she's mostly doing voice work now. And they're like, she's fine, but we need somebody who's more traditionally cute, and they got somebody different to do that role.
Jake Gyllenhaal too. He's
Yes.
a child actor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or even if you want to count, Justin Timberlake was a singer, and he
was in the
acts.
Mickey Mouse Club.
Yeah,
So
he
was Ryan Gosling.
Yep. So all of those guys, as close to normal as you can get into adulthood, they're still working. Ryan Gosling is going to be Ken, for gosh sakes. So how bad could it be?
Well, it's interesting to me the difference between like kids that come out of the Disney machine and like what happens to them.
It feels like the singers
'Cause
get the
it's-
worst of it.
Well, yeah.
The singers seem to end up way worse than the actors to me. I don't know why. I mean, but Nickelodeon.
It's probably a harder life touring than just going onto a movie set, shooting your thing, and then going to the premiere.
Yeah. Well, and is that part of it too? It's like a lot of kids, like we talk a lot about like it's just not normal to be a minor and work unobstructed with adults. Like it's just not a normal thing. Like they talked a lot about how when Joss Whedon's career kind of tumbled and he got all the bad press about being kind of who he was on set, they would talk about how they're like, look, he wasn't allowed to be left in a room alone with Michelle Trachtenberg. And the implication there is that he was doing something sexual, but it was because he's just mean. He's a dick. He's yelling at her, and she's 16 and she doesn't know how to handle that. Like and that's old. Like even 16 still, it's not an adult, but it's not a 9-year-old having to take direction from an adult.
But still, even at 16, you're not like mature enough
Exactly.
to really understand. It's like, okay, he's gonna yell at me and whatever, and then I'm gonna go on set, I'm gonna do my thing, and then it's gonna be over and it's gonna be done. I actually rather work with people who are like that like will just yell at you and get it all out of their system rather than being like constantly passive aggressive.
Yeah.
But
True.
Yeah, like it's just like, but for that, it's like there's supposed to be people there whose job it is to take care of them.
Have you like encountered some pretty explosive personalities, I'll say?
Behind the camera, some ADs, some producers, not really any like actors that I've worked with.
Okay.
One actor who was kind of a dick that I worked with briefly on a movie when I was like 19 was Tom Sizemore.
Start naming more names.
No, but everyone
Love Tom Sizemore.
But everyone else has been nice, Everyone's been pretty cool. Like the thing is, it's like you have to be nice for people to want to work with you again.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, though.
For most of the cases.
Then you have to be very, very, very good.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you have to either be top tier,
Who
the
was
best of
the director of Amsterdam?
Oh, David O. Russell. Oh,
Yeah,
he's known for being very
violent.
explosive and violent. He's known for being like that, but you can
And
see
it's selective enforcement.
Well, but you can see why he didn't make a movie for a long time, and the movie he ended up with was Amsterdam. Like there was a reason for that.
But there are still a lot of big names that didn't care and chose to align themselves with that project.
because he might win them Oscars.
True.
Oh, I will also point out.
But they also they describe him in this way that's like he's endearingly violent and angry and unstable.
He's
like
a nice violent.
he's just quirked up,
I will also mention Frankie Muniz turned out he's like a race car driver now.
Yeah, he's a race car driver now.
He kind of came out like he's got one of those great stories.
Had the privilege of, I guess, forgetting about all of it.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
even if he had bad experiences,
we're a bit off topic, but I do think that the Kardashians' kids will end up. They're going to be a product of both their parents' makings, not just the product of one or the other. And it is right in line with divorced families to be like, oh, my mistakes were bad, but yours were worse, and then they're going to try and then the kids are going to be expected to take sides. Like, oh, sorry, mom, I don't think your sex tape was nearly as bad as dad's sig heiling.
That's also just how men are treated in the Kardashian-Jenner clan, is that they're expected to either behave like women or they'll get kicked out or shunned, and that's exactly why I think Caitlyn Jenner transitioned. I do. That's at least part of the psychology behind it.
There's two $20 ones right there. Grofty and Tony Guevara.
Grofty said, can I get a host to go watch The Machine this weekend and review it Thursday maybe? Would like to see your options too.
I'd have to see what the available show times are out here.
And Tony Guevara just sent that without a message.
Thank you, Tony. Guys, yes. All right. So, yes, the moral of the story is if the Kardashian kids are screwed up, it will not be one parent's fault. It will be both parents' fault. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.